And a very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the Wednesday, August 26th edition of the CBC Evening News in our top story. Given the pressures members of the Royal Barbados Police Force face daily, Minister of Foreign Affairs Senator Maxine McLean says it's important attention is paid to their working conditions. To support her point, she highlighted research which links the output of work to improved working conditions. And her comments came as she led off debate in the Senate to approve the sum of $76 million Barbados dollars to finance construction on a number of facilities for the police force. And these include a new station at Hastings and a new headquarters at the Pine Road in St. Michael.
The conditions under which our members of our police force work will assist them in delivering the many services that they will be called upon to deliver as they engage in protecting citizens, protecting institutions, and thereby contributing to the attainment of the maximum levels of law and order in the country. That, in essence, speaks of the importance of this resolution, but it also speaks to the importance of the issue of citizen security in the agenda of this government or any government in the region.
Well, Senator McLean, who is also the leader of government business in the Senate, says crime and violence are hindrances to the island's economic and social development. She says any success in curbing the two must come through holistic approaches.
This is but one aspect of efforts to create the best conditions to reduce crime and violence and to foster positive citizen experiences and to foster citizen security. So I'm talking, therefore, Madam President, about the need for a number of social interventions, and I am sure we will hear much of that from some of my colleagues in terms of what we are doing within our system of education, within our system of other social services.
Meantime, Government Senator Jepter Ince is concerned over the level of crime in Barbadian communities, and he says that government has to do all that is possible to stop the deterioration of communities.
Because if we don't do it, Madam President, we are going to push the black communities 15 years into the wilderness. And the same thing that we were trying to do when we speak of independence, the work of our forefathers, the work of Errol Barrow, the work of Grantley Adams, the work of the Barbados Workers Union, the work of the NUPW is going to go in vain. That is what concerns me.
Well, Senator Ince, who is the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, says discussions about borrowing from the NIS are non-issues. He says the $76 million investment in the police force will reap economic benefits.
When we put these structures in place, the end result is that the Royal Barbados Police Force, in administering its duties to this country, that we would see a reduction and a more reduction in crime. We know we have challenges.
And opposition Barbados Labour Party Senator Jerome Walcott, though supporting the resolution, is of the view that the construction of new stations and other enhancements will not solve the crime situation. He says crime should not be politicized, noting that he does not blame the current government for the situation. He is, however, confident that the Royal Barbados Police Force will bring the situation under control.
It is not new. It has happened before. Historically, the Royal Barbados Police Force have been able to bring to justice, and in some cases to bring down, those perpetrators and those persons who have brought violence and violent activities to the citizens of this country and have threatened the social fabric. They've done it in the past, and I have no doubt that they will do it again.
And Senator Walcott says unemployment and the state of the economy are also taking their toll on Barbadians.
The feeling of exclusion and desperation and hopelessness of young people who've gone through an educational system in Barbados. The failure of the church, the failure of the education, the lack of the education system, the lack of parental and familial guidance and support has a role to play, foreign influences, be it North American in terms of television programs, video games, which have a lot of violence in them, and indeed the influence of music, not only from North America, but in some cases from Jamaica. The issue of the returning deportees, and of course the inadequate resources for the Barbados Royal Police Force.
Well, it is not the duty of the church to police the island, but those in law enforcement. And this is according to the Deputy President of the Senate, the Very Reverend Harold Critchlow. He was responding to criticism from several quarters that the church was not doing enough to deal with the state of crime on the island.
As he or police force to do that. And I don't think we should blame the church for the violence that is in society. I'm sure the Honorable Senator who said this was thinking of the fact that if the church perhaps did more among young people to save them from joining gangs and so on, that we wouldn't have this problem. And I agree that the church can do more to help the young.
On another note, Reverend Critchlow says since police risk their lives daily to protect the population, every officer should be insured at the expense of the state.
So that as he or she exposes himself or herself to dangers for the society, if they should die because of this exposure, that their families should be taken care of in a very meaningful way by the state.
The Barbados Workers Union is sounding a warning to employers in Barbados. General Secretary Tony Moore says she's closely watching what's being described as pocket layoffs on the island. Now, according to her, some companies are sending home small numbers of workers at intervals, hoping that it goes unchecked. But she says that the union is not having it.
What we have is a situation in which a company would decide maybe to send home 1% now and 3% later, but at the end of the day, it adds up to well more than the 10%. So it's significant indeed. The union has signaled wherever this has occurred, wherever we have seen the potential for such occurrences, we have flagged it, and we can only suitably put these issues to the appropriate body, the authorities in this regard, which would be in the first instance the Ministry of Labor.
The union boss made the comments as she's received unofficial word that the Ministry of Labor is ready to accept proposals for amendments to the Employment Rights Act. Ms. Moore says this is good news because she feels the act needs more clarity to protect the rights of workers.
The Barbados Workers Union has signaled to the Ministry of Labor that there were a number of areas that we thought that language, more so than substance, the language needed to be tightened up so that there was no doubt and no disconnect between what was intended and what is actually being interpreted by a number of players in the industry who would like to interpret for their own benefit, and much to the detriment of the worker.
Well, chronic non-communicable diseases are being described as a developmental problem for the island, and that's according to Senior Assistant General Secretary with the Barbados Workers Union, Orlando Gabby Scott. And with stats proving NCDs are directly linked to worrying levels of absenteeism in Barbados, Mr. Scott says that the union will be taking action to address concerns about its impact on the local workforce.
The study that was done by Anthony Sobers from the Productivity Council showed that the opportunity cost in regard to NCDs in Barbados was over $500 million. And I don't think that you could regard $500 million as, a flash in the pan. And I think that we will, so next year, based on the resolution that we will put to the 74th Annual Delegates Conference, when once that the conference has agreed upon it, what we will be seeking to do is to work harder with the NCD Commission, the Ministry of Health. We will also be seeking to work with all of the stakeholders in health.
Well, some good news tonight for landowners. The period for which landowners qualify for a 10% discount on their 2015-2016 land tax bills has been extended until next Friday, September the 4th. In light of the late receipt of some bills, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs has given permission for that extension. But the September 25th cut-off period for the 5% discount rate remains unchanged. An eighth man has been charged in connection with the murder of schoolteacher Dwight Holder. He is 24-year-old Rio Richie and Jelani Malcolm Ben of Upper Dukes Alley, St. Michael, and he will return to court on September 11th. He was remanded to Dodds Prison after appearing in court in connection with the charge. The young man appeared in the District A Magistrates Court, also charged with 2 counts of serious bodily harm and 1 count of unlawful use of a firearm. Ben was the subject of a police wanted notice and surrendered himself, accompanied by his attorney at law on Monday. Holder from St. Joseph was gunned down in Bush Hall earlier this month. Well, we'll have more news in just a moment, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe more community outposts can help lawmen to stay on top of crime in Barbados? Text yes or no to short code 8111 and we'll have the results for you at the end of our news.
Sharing everything is our style. No camera can capture our magic. But when a cold hits, my head is somewhere else. I need that cold out and life back in.
When a cold keeps you away, reach for Panadol Multi-Symptoms. Clinically proven ingredients for a total response to help clear your physical symptoms.
So I can be fully there for them.
Panadol Multi-Symptoms. When the cold is gone, life takes its place.
Shopping in the Sky is simply delicious at our mouth-watering brand new Sky Food Court. Our amazing spread includes Little Pleasures ice cream, coffee, and desserts. Authentic Asian cuisine at Waldy's Walk. Delectable Greek dining at Opa Express. A range of sumptuous Caribbean dishes at Tamarind of the Islands. And the very best of Bajan cuisine and pastries. Compliments Master Chef Peter Edie and his delightful pastry house and Peter Patties. Plus, we've got the world-renowned fast food giant Burger King. You cannot pass Haggett Hall and not join us for a quick delicious meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at our brand new food court. Only at Sky Mall, where when it comes to great fast food, there are no limits.
Shoes, shoes, shoes. Megville is offering good shoes at good prices. Shoes for dress, work, hotel, and restaurant workers. School shoes and casual wear shoes. Go to Megville, where you'll always get good shoes at good prices. Located in Tudor Street, High Street, and Palmetto Street in Bridgetown.
All government primary schools are set to open at the start of the new school term in September. The assurances come from the Minister of Education, Ronald Jones, following a recent tour of several primary schools which were earmarked for various repairs and renovations during the summer vacation. Overall, Mr. Jones was satisfied with the progress that had been made over the past few weeks. The minister says his ministry expects the new school year to begin without major incident, and the ministry spent about $1.95 million on enhancements and refurbishments, a $750,000 increase from last year's $1.2 million. A total of 24 primary and nursery schools were repaired this year. As the 5th anniversary of the Campus Trends tragedy draws near, the foundation set up in its remembrance is again sending a message. This year, the group is calling on all religious groups to devote the theme of their Sunday, August 30th worship to addressing the theme of crime in the society. And this is according to the political activist and member of the September 3rd Foundation, David Commichon. Furthermore, on September 3rd, the foundation will climax with a meeting in Hero Square featuring a number of local artists. In the face of crime concerns, Mr. Commichon hopes that the foundation will begin effecting change.
Some people will say we are in crisis as we grapple with what seems to be an epidemic of violent crime. And we also know that no other tragedy is of the magnitude and therefore has the potential to penetrate to the consciousness and the psyche of the Barbadian people as the Campus Trends tragedy. And that is why we have a responsibility to make creative use of that tragedy.
Well, in the face of social, economic, and environmental challenges facing the region, Barbados is continuing to thrive. This was revealed as the United Nations Population Fund launched the Caribbean Meeting on Population and Sustainable Development at the Hilton, Barbados. Speaking at that launch, Minister of Foreign Trade, Senator Maxine McLean, highlighted a number of areas for development in the region. She, however, lauded the Barbados government for their work in maintaining stable development.
Barbados has developed a policy framework based on its medium-term growth and development strategy 2013 to 2020 to address the priorities of the government as outlined in the 2013 throne speech, which spoke to Barbados being socially balanced, economically viable, environmentally sound, and characterized by good governance.
And still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across our region. But first, a reminder that we want to hear from you on this question. Do you believe more community outposts can help lawmen to stay on top of crime in Barbados? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of our news. And you can also follow us on Twitter at CBC_Newsroom and, of course, on our Facebook page, CBC Newsroom Barbados.